Aloha. Welcome back to the Kupuna Connections television program. I'm Cullen Hayashida with the KCC Kupuna Education Center. This Today we have a very important topic to talk about, and it relates to those that are still active and engaged in the community. And we've entitled the program, To Drive or Not to Drive, How to Survive Without a Car Key. And we believe that this is an important issue given the fact that we want to remain active as seniors. And the question is, how then can we remain active and engaged if we are not able to have mobility? So this is a powerful topic that we'd like to cover. With me, let me start off with an introduction by our guests and my co-hosts here, starting out with Tony.
My name's Tony Hathaway, and I'm the education coordinator with the Kupuna Education Center at Kapi'olani Community College.
I'm Diane Terada, the Division Administrator at Catholic Charities Hawai'i.
Hi Tony, hi Cullen. I'm Christina Valenzuela, Project Developer for Premium Senior Services.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. So we have here two important guests from Catholic Charities Hawaii, one of the premier social service agencies in the state that have been here for many, many decades. And so thank you very much for joining us. We, as we said, wanted to talk about this whole issue about transportation, to drive or not to drive. And when do you release your keys to your loved ones, and how do you survive without car keys? So one of the questions, I guess, when we look at our community today, we've got more and more older people, and we've got many people who are still driving, older adults that are still driving. But there are some related challenges and dangers related to driving for our older adult population. What can you tell us about some of the issues that are involved?
Well, Colleen, just to let you know how important a subject this is for our older population, the statistics show that traffic accidents per mile driven increases significantly once somebody hits age 65. And traffic-related injuries are the leading cause of injury-related death for people aged 65 to 74, and is the second cause of injury-related death for people 75 and older. The first, of course, being falls. So it is a really critical issue for seniors to be aware of, and for caregivers also.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and this whole issue of just wanting to remain active and engaged in the community, and not just locked into at home and remaining as a person that just watched television all day. You gotta by going out, you actually interact, and that there's a lot of positive things that are involved, but there are dangers, as you pointed out.
Right.
We've got this one clip that I wanted to share, just to share with people. If we could see this one slide here very quickly, it points out to one of the concerns that we have with regards to older adults. So this one picture here is this one individual that has driven. What can you say about a situation like this?
Well, it's very, it just shows you how dangerous driving can be, and it can be dangerous for everyone. However, one of the things to remember is that when you are older, you're physically often frailer, so you are at risk of more seriously injuring yourself as a result. So very important to pay attention to safety issues while driving.
I guess that you could not only injure yourself, but you could injure others. I mean, we do sometimes read in the newspaper about some kind of tragic incidents that have happened, where not only is the elder injured, but they may injure others too.
And I think people are starting to recognize that senior driving is an issue for our community as a whole. So we want to make sure that there are available transportation options for folks.
Good point, good point. And of course, accidents involving seniors is not quite the same as accidents involving young kids that are driving at age 20, for example. We're not talking about speeding, but we're talking about making accidents by pressing the accelerator rather than the brake off, or something to that effect, yeah, that can result in these types of accidents.
Yeah, those kinds of things often become the warning signals to when you need to pay attention to whether or not you should continue driving or whether or not you need help to be able to continue driving safely. So certainly things like whether or not you're getting mixed up between gas pedal versus the brake and other kinds of issues play into that.
Well, that kind of leads into the question I was going to ask. If you're, say, when you're a family member or possibly a caregiver of a grandparent or an elder, what kinds of signs should you be looking out for in terms of a problem with a driving issue?
Well, one of the first things you should probably do is look at the car that the senior is driving, because you will notice if there are unexplained dents. If you look at the tires and it's obvious they've been sideswiping a lot of things, that's one signal. Certainly seniors who are on a lot of medications or have a lot of physical ailments certainly are of concern. Other issues relate to whether or not you're noticing that your elderly family member is getting lost more often when on the road, when going to familiar places is another kind of trigger that you should be aware of. Or that just in general that it takes them longer to make decisions or to respond to things in their environment, you know, because as a driver you have to be able to respond very quickly to anything that may be happening on the road. So you need.
Is it a good idea to take a drive with them?
Yeah,
a passenger
exactly.
in the car.
Exactly. So observe the vehicle, observe the senior, and as well as observe their driving ability. So yes, ask them to drive you somewhere. And the important thing is don't be a backseat driver. Just kind of let them drive and see how they do, so you can see how they're responding on the road to various kinds of traffic situations.
Yeah, I have my grandson who tells me, "Papa, you drive slow."
And I think that's a good thing. Many older folks start to drive slower, more cautiously, and they tend to limit the areas that they drive in. However, the research shows that that's still not enough sometimes. Yeah, so they need to be very aware, and caregivers need to be very observant.
I see. Okay. Is there an age when we should think about not driving anymore?
There are very good drivers in their 80s. I don't think age is an issue. It has to do with your ability to respond quickly, to make good judgments on the road, physical issues that may affect your ability to be a good driver. Those kinds of things could happen, frankly, at any age. So age is not the only criteria.
So how would a older person themselves know when it might be time to stop driving?
If they have a lot of physical ailments, they probably should talk to their doctor about, are there consequences of my problems or my medications that would affect my driving ability?
Well, that's a good idea.
And they should pay attention to the fact that, any kind of sensory losses like vision, hearing, if they're having problems with those. If they have problems, turning their head to be able to see if there's a car coming from the side, the response time, often, they should be able to notice whether or not it takes them longer to stop their car even, Those are all, and then being more confused on the road. If it takes them longer to kind of figure out what's happening when they're in a traffic situation, then they should maybe consult with their doctor or look at some other avenues to assess whether or not there's something that needs to be done, because I'm not saying that means they should stop driving. Maybe it could be a medication-related issue, maybe it could be a training-related issue, but to be aware so that they can be proactive to make sure they are going to be safe on the road.
Now, AARP has some of these types of driver training suggestions.
Right.
Even about making a preference to turning right rather than left,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
to minimize the likelihood of an accident.
Yes. ARP has a very good driver safety training, and they have trainings offered throughout the year at various sites on the island. So it's definitely a good place to start. There's also, I think Rehab Hospital has a driver assessment program where they will help look at your driving skills and look at what you maybe need to do to improve that. And there's
I hadn't heard of that one.
yeah,
That's
so
a good
that's also
resource,
another
too.
resource. And if you have access to a computer or your caregiver does, if you Google senior driving, it will pop up with lots of things that are good resources to pay attention to. Yeah.
Oh, so there's lots of suggestions that are possible.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and have you any examples of someone that has taken this kind of class and have found some of these things to be helpful at all?
Yeah, you know, people have taken the ARP classes and really learned some good tips about safety. I think the one you mentioned about trying to turn right rather than turning left across traffic is a critical one. About, you know, how to keep an adequate space between you and the car in front are things that are very helpful. And I think in the process of the class, it will help seniors determine, can I do these things, and is it reasonable for me to continue driving and be a safe driver on the road? And I think they also, some of the insurance companies offer you a discount if you take the class successfully. So that's also a positive thing.
And some people just say, you know, I don't think I should drive at night, and that's a good point
That's
too.
a good point too. Yeah, a lot of vision-related issues about, you know, having more difficulty seeing at night. Certainly, a lot of seniors face.
When you think about it, the car is, you know, 3,000, 4,000 pounds, and you know, going at 30 miles an hour, it's really a weapon in many respects. So
Yes.
you really got to be extremely careful. Yeah. One accident, and I mean your entire livelihood in terms of everything that you own can, can disappear.
Can be affected,
Yeah, can be
definitely,
affected. So
yes.
it's very important that we take this seriously. Good point. Good point. Can you give us any reasons why seniors would be resistant to releasing or giving up their keys?
Well, I think for most of us who drive, and I think all four of us drive, keys, our keys and our cars are our freedom. You know, it gives us the ability to get where we want to go. It gives us the ability to continue the activities in life that we enjoy. So it's not an easy thing to want to give up. I think any of us would say that it would be something we'd have to think about very hard before we'd say okay to giving up those keys.
And I guess, well, I don't know, I think we all look forward to getting those keys when we were teenagers, and we've all been driving for a very long time, and we sort of take it for granted that anytime we decide we want to jump in the car and go somewhere, that's, you know, that's the freedom it allows us. Right?
And it is a primary source of transportation for many seniors, even at age, the population of 85 and older, 60% of them are still saying that driving is still their primary mode of transportation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously very critical to maintaining your lifestyle, being able to connect with people, getting to all the appointments you need to do, very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some way to get there has to be arranged if you're going to have to give up the keys.
So if someone has to give up their keys, and this is maybe your parents, what kinds of techniques work?
You know, it's a very hard thing. We run into a lot of caregivers who struggle with trying to convince their parents to give up the keys. And one of the things that I always advise caregivers is that they have to remember that the keys are freedom to anybody, and that if they're going to ask them their seniors to give up the keys, they have to help them look at what are the alternative options for transportation so that they can continue the things in life that they enjoy. So that may be learning how to catch the bus, you know, and using the bus service. And actually, Catholic Charities has a travel training program where we will actually assign somebody one-on-one to be sort of like a bus buddy and train seniors how to use the bus. You know, teach them about how to get their bus pass, how to get from their home to wherever they want to go, and it's offered on a one-to-one basis, and it's free.
How long have you folks been doing that?
Not very
Is it-
long,
Oh,
so it's sort of
okay,
a
I was
new
gonna say,
thing.
I didn't think, I hadn't
Yeah.
heard of that, so,
It's a very
that's-
new. It's a very new thing. And then I tell caregivers too that you have to be able to willing to offer assistance in helping the seniors get to where they need to go. And look at what is a support network of the senior, and are there other people around them that would help provide some transportation. And don't expect the senior to necessarily ask you for a ride, but to be proactive on your side to make it seem like you want to offer them a ride, so that the senior will feel comfortable, communicating with you when they have those kinds of needs. You know? And then there are also alternative, other kinds of specialized transportation that can be provided. Handy van is one. Catholic Charities also has a transportation service that we also provide transportation for folks by van. But our van service is a government-funded service, so that we have a priority to help people get to medical appointments, nutrition sites, and grocery shopping. So those are our priorities. So one of the
Yeah,
things
we have, in fact, a picture of one of
Ah,
your
okay.
vans that you shared with us, So,
And we have a very good van service, and our vans are all wheelchair accessible. But it doesn't always meet the need for everybody. Some people need more transportation than we're able to provide, or maybe need to go to some place that maybe we cannot prioritize because it's not a medical or nutrition related thing. So we started a new service, and it's called Premium Senior Services, and one of the things they offer is transportation.
And Premium Senior Services offers, again, another alternative option for seniors for transportation assistance. Not only do we provide the pickup drop-off only transportation, but we also provide what we call an escorted transportation. And this is where Catholic Charities staff will drive you to your appointment, stay with you, and help you with the doctor's appointment, grocery shopping, go to the errands with you to do banking, going to the post office, or if you're trying to do social activities, stay there with you so that you're able to do it as well.
I see. So it sounds like it really helps if you kind of start planning ahead and start thinking about the different options, and maybe one might even use a couple of these different services depending on what you need to do.
Right.
And then it may not seem quite as difficult to give up those keys if you have some services in place. And it might be a little easier if you do have somebody in the family who's willing to offer to give you a ride now and then.
I think it's important to definitely start the conversation, and to start, you're able to do the planning if you start the conversation and start being able to talk about it. And again, as Diane mentioned, it's important to remember that it is about the freedom. Those keys provide independence, provide freedom for that senior. And if you can remember that as you start the conversation, it may make it a little bit easier.
Because what's important is once somebody stops driving, you want to make sure that they're able to continue the activities in life that they enjoy, and that we're going to help them maintain positive mental health as well as physical health.
Right.
And you don't want them to stop everything, because that will lead to depression, it'll lead to isolation, it'll lead to them deteriorating over time.
Right. Yeah, I guess we really don't want to, isolate them. So you want to make sure they do have some ways of getting out, and as well as getting just the basic things that you need, like groceries and
Exactly.
medications and things like that.
I've heard of some very interesting programs elsewhere where in a community, community members that had cars and were going in a particular direction made that information available to seniors that did not have wheels. And so that kind of, collaboration and cooperation kind of helped the entire community remain, engaged and
That's a good point. And actually, Catholic Charities, we have a sort of a fledgling volunteer program to do friendly visitation and escort for folks, but we're actually looking at expanding that so that volunteers can also provide transportation, because we know that there are many things that seniors would like to do that they could probably go with somebody else who's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Or going to the same place. So
And
we're gonna
developing
work on that.
friendships along the way, yeah?
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
very important to establish and maintain those social networks.
If a senior, though, wants transportation but doesn't want to wait for some of these types of services, what do you do?
Well, that's when something like what Christine is talking about, our premium senior services, is one of the options. If they can't afford to pay for some transportation, that might be the immediate solution for them. And then, as Tony's mentioned, that could be part of multiple things that they could use to create a sort of a transportation freedom plan for themselves, yeah? Being able to get to all the different places using multiple things.
I guess you might use certain services, as you said, could be provided to get groceries and go to a doctor appointment. But then if you maybe wanted to go shopping at Ala Moana or go
Yeah.
visit a friend, then you might want to use the premium senior services for transportation.
We
Something like
also offer things like house cleaning assistance. We do things like light meal preparation, companionship. So if there are caregivers who are wanting someone to do a friendly visit or to stay with their parent, maybe do some house cleaning, that's also part of the services offered through premium senior services.
I see.
And the premium.
Go ahead.
I was just so the premium senior services, just so people are clear about it, are different from some of your other services in that there is a fee that you
Yes.
charge for it. Okay.
So the services we are competitively priced, and they vary by service. So, but folks find it, many of the seniors find it convenient because they can use the service as they need. So we have seniors who use it several times a week, twice a month, basically, and they can also individualize it based on their needs, so customize the service. They can have one appointment where they just do house cleaning, another appointment where they schedule to do transportation to go to the doctors, and then maybe do grocery shopping as well. So they can fit it around what their schedule and also their needs that they.
So let's say you talk about transportation and a person that doesn't want to wait for government services, let's say. What are we talking about as far as cost is concerned?
So as far as with cost, it depends on the type of transportation service. For our escorted transportation, which is through our personal home assistance services, it can be like $35 an hour for a 2-hour minimum.
Okay.
And again, as I said, they can customize it to where they can get house cleaning and transportation to go pick up medication as well. Or let's say they just want to go, as you said, to Ala Moana for the 2 hours. They can use that to go and have someone with them, stay with them, assist them with putting away the groceries, getting groceries, or just staying with them during the activity.
Let's say that they are just interested in getting from point A to point B with some kind of transportation services that's going to be there when they want it. What would that run up?
Well, we have what we call the pickup drop-off transportation, and that's $30 one way and $60 round trip within a certain mile range. And so what we've found is that folks who are needing more specialized assistance, who have regular medical appointments, that they need to make sure they get there at so-and-so time and need reliable, trusting services, have used that services. So where they use it maybe 3-4 times a week, it's very helpful. We are also wheelchair accessible, and our drivers are very trained in how to assist folks who may need that extra care.
That's actually done out of by our transportation services. So our drivers are very familiar with working with seniors. Our vehicles are part of our fleet, but they're small vehicles, and they don't require the senior to be going on long trips. Yeah, it's usually a direct route from home to their location and then back again.
Yeah.
So that would be somebody who, say, might need a little more help than like just calling a cab would provide you, like maybe getting in and out of the car, or if they're in a wheelchair, help up on the curb, that kind of thing. That your service might be a little bit better.
Yeah, there are certain people that, if you're pretty able-bodied and you're just doing a short trip, probably the cab would work. But if you are, you need that extra assistance, you need an accessible vehicle, that's when you probably want to call us. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you were to give us one last tip for our viewers, what would that be?
Oh, just to be very aware of what your driving abilities are like, or what the driving abilities of your senior individual is like, and to look at what your various options are for transportation, and do it early, before you have to give up the keys.
I think it's to have the conversation, and that it's okay, and to talk about it. With the senior that you're concerned with each other, talk about it. That way you can best know what your options are, what the problems may be. So talk with each other.
Okay, that's great. Just about all the time that we have right now. We have just one more slide there that has your phone number and your information, a website. So in case anyone is interested, our viewers, they can call that 527-4777 number, or go to the websites that are listed there. So thank you very much for joining us today, Diane Terrada and Christina Valenzuela. Yeah? Thank you very much. Both are with Catholic Charities Hawaii, one of Hawaii's premier senior service programs in the state. So aloha.